Hey guys, I'm learning TFT, back with part 2 of my stage 1 deep dive guide and analysis. Yesterday I couldn't finish this whole video in one go, so in this video I'm going to go through a VOD review of the top regional players. So I'm going to go through Dishsoap, dankmemes, and Darth Nub, who all finished in the final day 3 of regionals, and who will all be, I believe, competing in the World Championship tournament. So yesterday I went through a bunch of these skills, and I'm going to go through a process that you can use to significantly improve your play. This is a process that I first learned from Basso Skills, and I've done a bunch of this process with Marcel P, and I've seen Reimplosion also take this approach. So these are 3 of consistently top 20 NA top challenger players. And this is how they get better at the game. So I want to share that process with you, but also use this process as an opportunity to apply these ideas about stage 1 and see them in action. Before I jump into that, I'm going to first go into the meta mindset of the day, which is related to this process that I'm about to go through, which is deliberate practice. So if you want to jump straight into the VOD reviews themselves, take a look at the timestamp in the description below. So let's jump into why deliberate practice is important. All right, where did that go? Okay, I want to keep this image with us while we are looking at these quotes. So Jeff Colvin, in his book Talent is Overrated, said that deliberate practice, and by the way, I've talked about deliberate practice before, but I really want to emphasize the importance of this, because if you care about truly getting better at TFT or at anything else in life, this is the methodology that you use to become elite and like the top of the best if you want to get there. Just watching YouTube videos, just passively watching streams, just playing games, like that's not going to actually help you improve your game anywhere near as much as deliberate practice. And this is backed by science, and these ideas will explain why. And then we'll go into the actual VOD review process where we apply these conceptual ideas in improving our ability to do deliberate practice to improve at the game of TFT, which you can also do yourself, and also learn about how to get better at stage 1. So that's what we're going to do here. All right, so Colvin said, deliberate practice is characterized by several elements, each worth examining. It is activity designed specifically to improve performance. It can be repeated. Feedback on results is continuously available. It's demanding mentally, and usually isn't much fun. So these are the core ideas, right? Repeatable, mentally demanding, it's challenging, there's continuous feedback, and it helps you improve your performance. One factor, and only one factor, predicted how musically accomplished students were, and that was how much they practiced. So this is in reference to musicians that were extremely accomplished, and there were studies done on this, and the thing that predicted how accomplished they were was how much they practiced. Anders Ericsson, a psychologist, said an important general finding has been that the number of years of experience in the domain is only weakly related to the level of attained performance. So I'm sure many of you have probably heard of the 10,000 hour rule to become just an expert at a field. Well, part of that is true. You do need to spend a lot of time and have a lot of experience and practice in a certain domain. But the research also shows that how much time you spend in that domain is less correlated with the attained level of performance than practice. So someone that is very deliberate in their practice and spends less time can actually outperform someone else that spends a lot of time. And this is relevant in TFT because so often we hear people say like, well, you can only get to the top levels if you play a ton of games, right? But what some of the top players show us is, for example, I think Rainplosion, like we could just look at the number of games here, right? And sometimes it's hard to tell because someone probably has multiple accounts. Like Tidal probably has multiple accounts, like one in Japan. But if you look at some of these players, like sub 300 games, Greya 500, where's Rainplosion? I don't see Rain here. But you see a number of players that have significantly less games, and it's hard to tell sometimes if they're Smurfs. But David As here. But the more deliberate you are, the fewer games you need to be able to perform at these elite levels. Erickson continues to say the most effective learning requires a well-defined task, which is what we're going to do, an appropriate difficulty level, informative feedback, and opportunities for repetition and correction of errors. When all of these are present, then we use the term deliberate practice to characterize these training activities. Expert performers should not only be studied for their attained performance, but also for how they optimize their efforts for continued improvement. So instead of just looking at someone who won, a championship, what we should really be asking is what's their process? What's their learning, training process look like? And a big part of what that looks like, given feedback that I've gotten from top challenger players, is deliberate practice. And this is just as true in other domains of life, other areas of life that people have to train a lot, whether that's professional sports, professional musicians, all areas of life that demand a high level, high skill level, high performance level in order to compete or perform well requires deliberate practice. Stanislas Dehaene, a neuroscientist, said the pillars of learning are attention, which amplifies the information we focus on. So a big part of that is clear focus and attention on whatever it is that you're doing or learning at a specific time. So if your goal is to significantly get better, you don't want to passively, watch a YouTube video while you're doing something else in multitasking, right? Like what I would suggest even for you for this video, when we get to the deliberate practice VOD review process, is to even pause the video before key decision points, make an active prediction yourself, and then compare that with the results, which is what I'm going to do as well. And that's actually the process that I did with Marcel P for a lot of our learning training process in this set. If you take a look back through some of my recent videos with Marcel, is he actually asked me to predict first. We pause, I predict, then he provides his own prediction. We tried to gauge the differences in our predictions and our thought processes and why. And then we unpause the video, see what the top streamer did, pause again, and then actively, critically think about what happened. Where did the streamer's decision align with ours? Where did it not align with ours? And why was there a gap between their action and our action? So that's the error feedback process. So active engagement, an algorithm also called curiosity, which encourages our brain to ceaselessly test new hypotheses. So a big part of this is making a prediction, having a hypothesis, and then getting error feedback, which compares our predictions with reality and corrects our models of the world. Consolidation, which renders what we have learned fully automated and involves sleep as a key component. So a big part of this too that I've also mentioned before is that when you go through this active learning process, this active and deliberate practice process, you really do need to give yourself time for sleep. And there's been a ton of research done on this. When we sleep less than 7 or 8 hours a day, especially if you're doing very intense learning processes, the amount of memory that's retained is significantly less than if you sleep over 8 hours a night. And like, for example, Magnus Carlsen has talked about how, especially before big tournaments, I think he's mentioned one time he slept something like 12 to 16 hours before maybe a world championship. So sleep is also a big part of the process of learning for our brains. He continues to say, to learn, our brain must first form a hypothetical mental model of the outside world. So your mental model of TFT, in this video, it's going to be your mental model of how to play stage 1, which then projects onto its environment and puts to a test by comparing its predictions to what it receives from the senses. This algorithm implies an active, engaged, and attentive posture. Motivation is essential. We learn well only if we have a clear goal and we fully commit to reaching it. So a big part of this is motivation and commitment, right? If you really want to get better at TFT, then this is the way to go about it. And when you approach this deliberate practice process, while first kind of anchoring yourself in that motivation and reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing, it makes it a lot easier for your brain to say, when you're doing the deliberate practice, to say like, hey, this is important. This is information that I should really make sure gets A, like that I'm focusing on it, and then B, we want to eventually move it to long-term memory. And so that commitment and motivation, research has also shown, drastically improves our ability to learn and to eventually perform the tasks well in the future. Learning occurs only if the brain selects attention, uses them to produce a prediction, and evaluates the accuracy of the prediction, so error feedback. So again, that's exactly what we're going to do here. To get information into long-term memory, it's essential to study the material, then test yourself, rather than spending all your time studying. So this reinforces the point that just studying the material or just hearing the information, watching this video is not enough. You want to actively use your brain to test yourself, create predictions, create hypotheses. That's the way you can more effectively learn this information. Alan said, everyone should learn to happily make errors. To think is to move from one error to the next. And Karl Popper said, the whole secret of scientific method is a readiness to learn from mistakes. So one thing that we might feel frustrated by is when we do this deliberate practice process, we might get discouraged, we might get a little down if we are consistently wrong, right? But yet, Alan and Popper are saying that's the whole foundation of the scientific method. If we can acknowledge that we don't know everything and are ready to learn from our mistakes, we're receptive to the error feedback loop and being an active participant in the deliberate practice process, that is how, you know, our brains can kind of connect the dots and draw these new mental models of the world around us and be able to have a map in our brains that is far more accurate perception and model of the world, so that when we want to make future predictions against that model, we can be a lot more accurate. So that is the foundation of this guide in deliberate practice. So let's dive into that. Again, I want to emphasize, I talked about this in the first video, that most of this analysis should be applicable for any patch or any set. And that's why right now at the end of set 13, I am shifting my emphasis in these videos to more fundamentals oriented that is going to be useful in, you know, set 14, set 15, anytime there's a new patch. So if you did not watch this video for these skills, I would suggest you can take a look at in the link in the description below to the first part of this video. And I will be re-emphasizing these points during the bot review. So, and I'll take notes as well in that. So how to really improve at stage 1, and you can apply this to basically any stage, like let's say 2-1 augment selection, 3-2 augment selection, how to do your 4-2 roll down. This process you can apply to any of the above. It's a deliberate practice methodology that Basso Skills shared with me. But again, I've seen Marcel P do this. I've seen Rain Plosion do this. I suspect a lot of top tier challenger players do this. and it's a way that you can do it too, to get significantly better at the game in far less time than probably the ways that you are trying to get better right now, and definitely better than just spamming games. All right, so step 1, VOD review a top tier streamer. Pause the game at the start of each round or decision point. Write down the decisions that you would make, unpause the game, see what the streamer does, and analyze the differences between your decisions. So again, this is basically like the deliberate practice process, right? This is make a prediction, not to all caps. And then you're going to get error feedback. And this is engaging actively, making predictions, testing your data instead of just passively observing, right? So we're going to dive into the VOD reviews. And again, I would suggest that you also be an active participant. And I'm going to take notes here on the side as well. All right, so we're going to start off with Dishsoap. This was day 3 of regionals, game 1. And I'm going to take notes on it. Let me remove chat here. All right, what encounter was this? No encounter. And by the way, in my last video, I talked about how encounters affect stage 1 decision making. So we'll also reference those as they come up. All right, so I'm going to pause at each key decision point. Oh, I jumped ahead. Get everything set up. Okay, here we go. So what was this? 1-3. So we talked about how, let me figure out how to make the top section more easier to read. Okay. Okay, 1-3. So basic idea, hold pairs, right? So I would hold violet pair, which means we have 1 gold left over, but we have 2 gold here. I would probably, so commit the violet pair onto the board. And then we have 2 sentinels, but we want connecting units, right? So given that 2 pairs, so given that we have the violet pair, we want the connecting units, which is Powder and Darius, because eventually we want to get Draven and Vander. So I would buy Violet, probably buy Powder. If I don't get any more gold, so buy Violet and Powder, and then if no more gold, then sell Set and buy Darius and probably Singe, just because Singe gives you Emberin outs. All right. So checks Academy, he's scouting. By the way, we talked about scouting, right? We got Bruisers, Sentinel, Bruisers, 1 guy with a violet pair, and a pair of Luxes. So scouting can help us make the difference in this decision on what units to hold. Like if other players are holding the same units and we are kind of straddling 2 lines, then we want to sell the units that are more contested. Okay, so we got 2 more gold in value from the orb. We want to buy the pair. So 1-3 middle. Buy Aurelia pair. And Aurelia and Singed go well together. So but now Set becomes more valuable because we could get 3 Rebel. But I think at this point, the 1 costs are still more important. So I would probably buy Aurelia pair, which means we have 0 gold. We can sell Set or Morgana or Morgana. So I would sell Set, buy Powder for sure, and Singed. And then I think the question is, do we want the Morgana or the Darius? And I think that probably depend on the item component that drops. Okay, so it's a belt. I think with this, I would sell the Morgana for Darius. Sell Morgana, buy Darius. If it was a tier, I would probably keep the Morgana because Morgana really relies on blue buff. So this goes back to what we talked about with this hold units based on slammable item components. And also why we want to try to frontline our units so we can get the orbs quicker to make these like snap decisions. Okay, so far we got everything right. He's scouting again. All right, so now we got a 2-star. So going back to we want to buy, well, hold pairs, buy 2-star units. It's like kind of given. 1-4, buy Singed 2, which uses up all our gold. Commit Singed 2, Aurelia pair to board, since that's probably our best board right now, which means that we want backline. We have a slammable Sunfire on Singed, which will be pretty strong. So we'll have Violet pair, Darius, and Powder. So 4 gold in value that we can exchange. I think we definitely want to buy like the Zyra and Maddie since they're more reliable backliners. So I'd probably sell the Darius and Powder for these two. But we wait until we see the orbs, right? So if nothing changes, then Darius, Powder for Zyra, Maddie, since Zyra, Maddie are just going to be more reliable DPS sources. Like melee is not as good when you have tanks. Like if you're playing a traditional front to back, you want more backliners. Okay, so scouting again. You can see how much Dishsoap is scouting here. By the way, I kind of want to go back and see what he scouted. Okay. Because he's trying to decide between family versus Sentinel right now. Okay, so this guy could be going family. He has a rod belt. Also holding family units. But does have Morgana pair with a tier, so could go Morgana reroll. Sorks, Rebel, which also leans into Sentinel. So 2 players that could be leaning into Sentinels. Another Sentinel player. Weijin also has a Morgana pair, Vex pair with a tier. Sork. This probably Darth Nub's holding Sorks on bench, but is committing Amumu pair and Maddie. So this is related to what Asa talked about around how you can usually trust what a player is committing on board over what they have on bench. All right, so coming back here, I feel like I would still buy the Singed 2, but the problem is, like, it seems like 2/3 of the lobby is leaning AP and is holding like Visionaries, Sentinel frontline, which means that you could be more contested. So that could be one reason that he is maybe leaning towards like still holding the family angle and not contesting Sentinels. And perhaps why he maybe wouldn't sell the Darius and Powder to buy the Zyra and Maddie Because I was thinking about that from a, that's probably what's better from a strongest board standpoint immediately. But if he's thinking about like, if he hits a violet 2, then he could start angling towards family. And I think a lot of this could also depend on what item component is dropped. If he gets a slammable violet item, like a bow for Titans or a sword for Sterax, then he'd be more likely to not sell the Darius and powder. Whereas if he gets, I don't know what, like a tier or something, then maybe he leans more towards AP, even though from the scouting he already did, it seems like AP, whether that's Sorks, I think there were 2 other Sorks players, and Visionary, or leaning down like an Academy Heimer or Rebel line, there were like at least 2 other players doing that as well. All right, so I think the first step's going to be figure out what the orb is. Okay, so he does buy the Singed 2. It's a rod, which means slammable items are either Morello or Sunfire, probably. And given this, I feel like I would probably... Well, okay, we got 2 more gold, so then I think we just buy... Got 2 gold, so buy the Zyra Maddie. Don't need to sell the Darius and powder. Urgot. Huh. Bought Urgot over Zyra and Maddie. So my guess here is that, so this goes back to the error prediction and then feedback loop, right? So this is where I got something wrong and I'm going to critically think about why Dishsoap made a different decision than I would have. And so the main reason I can think about this is you want same trait for Violet in Pit Fighter. And if you get Unleash the Beast 2-1, have half of another Sterax in the belt. So I guess it's really committing to the units that you have. So, okay, I'm going to say for this one, I got, I don't know, I got like, let's say 80% correct. Okay, moving on to dankmemes, and these are all these are all the same players in the same lobby, so it should be no encounter. Let me just double check. Yeah, no encounter. By the way, dankmemes was already scouting. A lot of times, Asa mentioned that you can even scout on 1-2 or 1-3 to see what like 2 or 3 orb drops opponents get, since that can really change the direction of the game. Like if you get a Ezreal right out of an orb, or you get a Swain right out of the orb, or like a Smeech or Rennie, that can really change your direction. And if someone else gets the same 3 costs as you, that's something to be aware of. Okay. By the way, I guess part of the predictions on these can get kind of like the data is kind of not as accurate because some of them are scouting the other players. Okay, but on 1-3, we want to hold pairs, so buy Lux pair. Especially since we have a rod, I would say Lux pair is more important than Singed pair if we didn't have enough gold, but our priority should be to buy both sets of pairs. So I would buy Lux pair, commit Lux pair, and then we have 1 gold left over. So if no gold drop, then sell a Mumu and buy Singed pair. And the reason I would sell a Mumu and not Darius is because eventually we do want, if we are playing down the Sork line, eventually Vladimir is a Sork watcher, which you do want to pair with these watchers. And I talked about holding units that are 2 degrees apart, connecting units 2 degrees apart, right? And so Sork and Watchers are 2 degrees apart, connected by Vladimir. But the other reason that I would prefer Darius over Amumu is because Swain is a Conqueror sorcerer, and so Darius is actually 2 degrees apart, connected through both Vladimir and Swain. So when you're thinking about a new set or new patch, or specifically new set like set 14, and you're not familiar with the units, you really want to understand the trait web so you can understand which units are 2 degrees connected apart. All right, so let's see what dankmemes does here. So good, commits the Luxes, and then let's see what it gets. All right, so the Rel is really good. I would sell the Amumu, buy the Singed pair. Whoa. Wait. What did he do? He sold the Rel and bought the Singed, and I didn't even see it. What would I do? I would, if I were to sell the Rel, would I prioritize Vex or Trundle? I guess the item component is a bow. Probably Trundle then. Wait, did he? Wait. Oh, he didn't even buy it in time. Okay, he was trying to buy the Vex. So fascinating. Okay, so instead of calling it wrong, I'm gonna call it error. Just for better psychological mental stuff. Okay, so he sold Rel instead of Amumu to buy Singed pair. Huh, that's so strange to me because you're more likely to hit Singed 2 and you probably want a Sentinel, and the Sentinel connects with, or the Rel connects with Darius. So maybe it's that he prioritizes 1 cost over 2 costs. That could be one reason. I mean, I think that's probably the primary reason. Okay. All right, so next is what, 1-4? We still have the Lux pair. So we definitely want to buy the Zyra or Sorks. That leaves us with 2 gold left. If he had bought the Trundle, I think I would have probably bought the Trundle over the Vex last turn. This is, we likely have a backline option, so we need more frontline, and like if we hit bruisers, that'd be a decent frontline. Although my guess is, given the item components, they're carry components, so then maybe you want to prioritize backliners more. Could be another reason he sold the Rel to try to get the, I don't know how important it was for him to be able to buy an extra 1 cost, which would be reason to sell the Rel. Okay. And by the way, if anytime I get an error, if I hypothesize stuff that's like maybe doesn't sound right to you, or you have other ideas on why my error took place, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to make this more of like an interactive discussion group type deal. And please provide timestamps in the description comments if you are providing feedback as well. I would really appreciate that. So definitely Zyra. Urgot, if you had the Zyra too, would be part of a 3-piece for experiment. If you had Nunu, but I would probably only hold Urgot if I had the Nunu. So then I'd probably just buy either Trundle, Steb combined, or Draven, because we have a Rage Blade, could then be used to tempo into like Twitch or Ezreal, or Tristana, just like some tempo line. So I think holding Draven is important. So holding Zyra because same trait, talked about that here. Draven, because of Rage Blade Slam, is really good on him. So where's that? Hold units based on slammable item components, which gives us 1 gold left. And then I would probably just buy like either Trundle or Step. I don't know that I would really prioritize one over the other. Probably Trundle for scrap. Since GP is 2 degrees from Draven with scrap. And with GP would connect Draven and Trundle. Okay, so we got the Sorks. Okay, we're scouting. I'm gonna go back. All right, here we have Violet pair, Morgana pair. That's what he's committing, so that indicates that's what he's heavily leaning towards. He has open tiers, so Morgana reroll is an option with frontline sentinels. We got likely a scrap angle, 2-star Trundle, Violet pair, family or sentinel. This looks like rebel or visionary, another visionary, Sork, and Watcher, sniper, but with Sorks on bench. So there's 2 other opponents that could be contesting Sorks here. And Academy was Bramble as the first one. All right, so we get a Watcher, which could lean towards family. I think we definitely want to buy the Draven now because the Vander can lean into family reroll with Draven. With Glove, I feel like Draven now looks actually pretty good. If we lean towards Sork, the slam. So let's go back to what are slammable items right here. So it would be JG open bow or Sork. I mean, Sork could also play Rageblade Glove since Rageblade's good with Zoe. I think I hold this Draven. Probably sell the Amumu, buy the Urgot if I'm gonna play around Draven. Okay, so after orb drop, I would buy Draven, sell Amumu, buy Urgot. Okay, so instead he sold Vander over Amumu. Okay, so I think a big learning here for me. Let me write down my big takeaways. Think memes game 1. Consistently sold 2 costs in favor of 1 cost, even with shared trades. So I think in that sense, he is really trying to maximize his odds of hitting 2-star 1 costs. All right, so that's game 1 for him. Let's go to Darth Nub. Okay, game 1, also no encounter. All right, so here we have a Amumu on board. So definitely want to buy a Amumu pair. 1 gold left over. which means we want backliners. We have an open cloak. Doesn't give us that much direction. Watchers are second degree connected to Lux through Vladimir, so I would buy Lux as the backliner. And then if we are to follow dankmemes' approach, it would be to also sell the Renata for what? Pick 2 out of 3, Steb, Morgana, and Maddie. So for Steb and Maddie, because they're connected by enforcers. So don't pick up Morgana. The one reason maybe to keep Renata would be if you really value Chem like if you get, what is it? The Chem augment that gives you a Rennie. That would be one reason to hold the Renata. Interesting that he's committing the Maddie over the Lux. Like it's possible that he just really likes AD more. Alright, so I would definitely sell the. So here, after what is this? Knock drop. I would probably sell. I would keep the knock since shares trait and gives Amumu armor MR from Automata. And I would still sell Renata. Basically, still sell Renata for Steb Lux. Okay. That was what, 1-3? All right, 1-4. We got dropped a belt. Most likely we're gonna have a slammable tank option after this third component drops. If we get a 6 gold drop, we could make 10. So that was something we discussed in here. You could also consider soloing stage 1 units to make 10, and Steb could do that, but I think in this meta right now, you don't really want to lose streak that often. To be able to lose streak and have an argument to make 10 in this situation, you would need to have comps that can really, usually that would be like fast 8, but comps that can stabilize in stage 4 and win out. And there's not very many of those that exist in the meta right now. A couple patches ago, Scrap maybe was the closest thing. And so if it's highly contested and you want the gold econ to get there quickly and to get priority on components, that would be one strategy. But I don't think that applies in this patch right now. But there may be patches, especially in next set. It's more likely early on in a set that imbalance occurs. And so having that in your playbook can be useful. So here, we definitely want the Zyra pair, since that's, besides Amumu, that's the only pair we have. So buy Zyra pair, which is fully 2 gold. And I would commit Zyra pair and Lux. Or I would commit like Mumu pair and Lux. Although I already know that he doesn't do that. That would be what I would do. And then do we sell the? I think our strongest board is probably going to be a Mumu. So I think it's actually commit Mumu pair and Darius actually. That's probably what I would do. Because that's just gonna be your best frontline option. Either way, I think you play that. And then, so that means you would need to sell a unit to at least get the Zyra pair. I would probably, I don't know. Yeah, I think I get out of the enforcers because we already have this. So I would sell Maddie Step to buy Zyra pair and Darius. Wait, I don't need that much, right? I only need to sell one of them. Okay, just sell Maddie or sell Step. The reason I'd sell Steb over Maddie is that I have the Amumu pair frontline. So sell Steb, I would have 3 gold, buy Zyra, Darius. But actually, we don't need to sell first. What? Okay, this is like order of operations is so complex. First commit this, and then if no gold drop, then sell Step. If there is a gold drop, then we can dynamically make a decision on the fly. Or in this case, I would commit the Zyra. But I guess what we're saying is either way, we know we would probably sell the Steb if we want to get the Darius. And maybe he wants, and we've talked about this too, is commit units on board that you want to signal to opponents that you're likely to play. So maybe he doesn't want to signal to opponents that he could be playing Sork. That's a good question. All right, so we got a sword drop, which is really awkward for AP. Since really the only slammable item is melee or even shroud open sword. So now I'm wondering if we even sell the Lux. I think we maybe keep the Maddie now. Keep the Steb. Sell the Lux for the Darius. And I think maybe still keep this pair. Or sell all 3 and buy 1, 2, and we could play Watcher Sniper. Okay, so after sword drop, I would sell Lux for Darius. Consider selling Zyra pair for Vander. So this goes back to hold units based on slammable item components, and we have no direction for AP plus. And actually, one thing to note is I don't think I saw Darth Nub really scout. If he did scout, he would see that there were a bunch of players leaning towards AP, which would mean that you would be more likely to lean towards AD. So we talked about that before, right? This was under scouting. We're scouting. Oh, here. What units do your opponents have? What direction are opponents leaning toward? And if bench locked and have to decide what pairs to hold onto, lean toward what, or okay, basically you want to lean towards what opponents are not holding, right? And what your components are leaning toward. So I think I would sell Zyra pair, because we're not going to streak here. We're not going to streak in stage 2 with this board. Even if we hit Zyra 2, we don't have a slammable item for her, so we're not going to be able to streak. We'll definitely be able to kill units, but I think getting the Vander and Darius, because we're going to have a slammable tank item, ideally what we could do is get a 4-watcher setup with like IE and use that to go into some type of AD flex. Okay, let's stop again. So you got the Sentinel, you got the, what is that? Singed pair? Singed pair drops, and now Aurelia becomes more enticing. I think it's still sell Zyra pair Lux for Vander and Aurelia now. Hmm. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what he does. Nothing. Okay. So error. Didn't sell Zyra, pair, and Lux. All right. Why would he might not have done that? Maybe the 2-1 augment could give item components or like Pandora's to fix items if he hits 2-star Zyra. Because there's no way with Sorks that you're gonna slam 2 full items by after carousel. So yeah, I'm not sure I understand. I guess the other reason is 2-star Zyra will kill more units, saving more HP. All right, so all right, that was game 1. All right, let's go back to Dishsoap. Next game. All right, what was the encounter? Prismatic. Echo. Okay, let me first. I'll try to review the all prismatic. All right, so all prismatic, counter, echo. All prismatic means you're at higher tempo. So my interpretation of that is preserving HP is more important than econ. Because the lobby tempo is going to be so high, you could die really quickly. So you're more likely to hold pairs at cost of econ in this encounter. All right. So you notice that Dishsoap was also scouting there to see what kind of drops there are. All right, so here we have enough gold to buy everything. But what I would commit is buy Darius pair and commit both. Darius also connects. We talked about how Watchers connects to sorcerers through Vladimir, and then buy rest of shop after. Okay, actively scouting. Let me go through his scouting. Slow it down. All right. So we got visionary pair, bunch of visionaries. This, but no tier, so not necessarily Morgana reroll. We got a just lot of random units, not necessarily a clear direction. He did commit the rebel units. We got interesting, both an Ezreal drop and a Swain drop. A lot of flexibility for President with a Violet pair. Academy is Gunblade, which could be good for Heimer. We have Trundle pair with not clear backline options with a sword. Sorks for dankmemes. Some awkward 3 costs to hold. Sorks for bio with Lux pair and Academy. He's missing Ezreal though. And a TF, which could lean towards Quick Striker reroll, Enforcer. Okay. So nobody was holding Watchers. And I don't think there were any Sniper players. But we just buy everything. Yep. Okay, so 1-4. Buy Darius 2, but wait until after round starts to have optionality. So that means I would commit a Mumu. And then after round start, I would buy Darius and a Mumu. So now we have Darius 2 and a Mumu pair, which is very strong front line, which means we would need to really focus on our back line. We would have 1 gold left, which means I would buy buy Morgana, and then now after that is a question of whether we sell the Trundle pair for Ziggs. With no tier, I would say keep Trundle pair greater than Ziggs. Ziggs could be good if you got like you could go down a Black Rose line if you got early cast with Vladimir, Morgana, and Ziggs. But I would only consider that if I had like a slammable Shojin. Ziggs could also be good if paired with Trundle too, to just get scrap. But we would have to sell the what's her face? This unit. Why am I blanking on her name? Nami. To do that, and I feel like we'd rather hold the Nami than the Ziggs. So, yeah, commit Amumu, buy Darius Amumu, and buy Darius Amumu. Oh, actually, do we sell the Trundle for Morgana? Probably not unless we get a tier. So same reason. All right, so we got Quick Striker. We got possibly Family. Dankmemes hit Sork. Visionary. Also Sork. Family. Possibly Quick Striker. So there were 2 other Sork players, and we have Sword Glove. So actually now, given the scouting, I would consider selling the Nami because it's too expensive. We don't have any other Sorks, and we have Sword Glove. Again, unless a tier drops, but otherwise, I think we're actually probably playing around AD. Okay, so yeah, buy this, sell this, buy Ziggs Morgana, or just keep everything. Okay, so keep everything. Is that right? Think memes. No encounter. Wait. Oh, okay. That was the same game. All right, game 2 for Dink Memes. Okay, definitely want to buy Zyra 2, but hold off on committing until after round starts. And then the question is, do we want to sell either of the 3 costs to buy shop? Which, if Dink Memes in game 1 would sell all the 2 costs in favor of 1 cost, he would definitely sell 3 costs. Unless he really values these 3 costs. Which I feel like if you just want to build the best frontline, it would be sell. So we already used up our 1 gold here for Zyra. Is sell this, buy a shop, and Singed Loris is probably your best frontline. So I would sell Blitz to buy Violet, Maddie, Singed. All right, we get drop tier belt. So I don't think that would change my assessment. So, oh, I see. Okay, so I guess he's just valuing, and I've heard a lot of people talk about how Blitz is just a strong unit. Okay, so values Blitz and Loris greater than 1 cost. Huh. So I guess part of the analysis is that he's more likely to sell 2 costs than 3 cost tanks for 1 cost. Especially if no 1 cost tank pairs, then can use 3 cost tanks temporarily. Okay. On 1-4, holds 3 cost tanks. Okay, so just I think this is a unit quality thing. And it's on, the other thing is maybe more likely to do this on scope encounters since want to play strongest board at sacrifice of econ. All right, we have Zyra 2 on board. We want to buy Lux and probably Darius because it's second degree connected. And then the question is, would we want to sell? I mean, if we have the Lux 2, or sorry, the Zyra 2 and Lux, we probably just want the best frontline as possible. Question also is, do we hold the Urgot? In hopes that we find a Nunu, which is unlikely. So I think it's just buy Lux and Darius. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. Oh, and I would commit the Darius. Okay, he really likes. Think really likes Blitz 1 as strong stage 2 tank. Okay, so the other thing is, yeah, I did not really include this, but no, like basically unit quality. Know what the unit quality is. All right, rod drop. I don't think that changes anything. I don't think I would sell or buy anything. Okay. So that's game 2. Then game 2 for Darth Nub. Okay, he has an Amumu. All right, I would have bought the pair anyway. Buy Trundle pair. We have an Amumu and a Cass. We have enough. I would just buy whole shop. We have enough gold. Especially on Echo with Prismatic. Even if we get a gold drop, I would say if we get gold drop, I would sell the Cass and one other unit. I guess depending on the component, we can see what is more of a disposable unit. Probably a Mumu. Okay, no gold drop. All right. 1-4. I would commit Trundle pair with Zyra. by Zyra, and then we have one more gold, probably by Maddie. Second degree with Step. Although Akali is just a good unit and can lean us towards Quick Striker, and our components are actually not bad for that. But I'd probably commit the Zyra pair anyway. And then if no more gold, we have one gold left over. I'd probably sell the cast for, and then that would mean we have 4 gold. So Akali, X, Morgana. So all in, that would be sell this, which would be 5 gold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we would need to sell one more thing. So sell cast plus either Violet or Singed, depending. Oh wait, no. Probably sell cast slash Amumu. The Sentinel can play around Akali Quick Striker. And we possibly have like slammable melee items, though we don't have any of the supporting cast here. And actually Amumu is connected through Vlad, so maybe I would sell Violet. Amumu or Violet, depending on the item component that's dropped. All right, so Darth Nub really values this Akali as just like a really good unit in the 2 cost. So this goes back to the have a unit tier list in mind. And it seems like Darth Nub would put Akali pretty much at S or A tier for 2 costs, and Darth Nub or dankmemes would put Blitz at probably, I would say, A tier, given that he doesn't have any other tanks. If he had, my guess is if he had like a tank pair, he would not necessarily be as likely to hold the Blitz at cost of econ or at cost of other pairs that he'd be holding. All right, Rod drop. This doesn't seem like there's any good slammable items, so I mean, the Cassiopeia with the Morgana, once you find a Vlad, then you get 3 Black Rose, so it's actually maybe not that bad to hold the cast. And we're probably gonna lose streak. But I think the best bet is actually, well, okay, there is a slammable item. It'd be Crown Guard Akali Open Sword. So I think we stick to the original game plan. Sell the Cassiopeia. Buy shop. All right, so what did he do? He sold Violet. Okay, because he's not gonna play Violet. It's like pretty clear. Didn't get a Violet pair. Edge of Night open rod's not very good. If you want to play Violet, you want to be able to slam multiple items as quickly as possible. So I think that makes sense. And then the Sentinel for, okay. With Rod drop, sell Violet. Since unlikely to slam Eon, open Rod, and Singed for Zyra pair and Visionaries. Morg opens up 3 Black Rose if find. Okay, let's go to game 3. All right, I'm probably gonna wrap up after game 3 across all 3 players. All right, so this is Vi encounter. or component anvils. So talked about how component anvils with Vi is more items means reroll is stronger, since you can get a fully itemized like 2-star 2 cost or 1 cost as early as stage 3, like early stage 3. So you're more likely to hold extra units of the same kind even after hitting 2-star. Like let's say you hit and also this, keep this in mind for hero augments. Like usually if you get 3 trundles, you might not want to hold another trundle. If it's on an encounter, that's not really great for reroll. But with the extra item components, you're more likely. So you want to also hold connecting units of reroll lines. Okay. Scouting, a bunch of possible 3 costs. Okay, so we just saw that Darth Nub really valued this Macaulay, and we have a 3 Rebel opener, so I would buy Aurelia, commit Aurelia, and Vex. If we want to signal quick, then commit Macaulay, which I think probably do. So it'd be commit Macaulay / like Aurelia. Because this is a really good opener for Quick Striker. With 3 Rebel, you have the Rel. So it'd be buy Aurelia and then buy Singe probably, sell Zeri, because that line's not that good anymore, which for probably Maddie instead. Yeah, let's look at this scouting. There was a Tristana. This is a Mumu pair, Swain, Stead pair with Ziggs pair on bench. This is likely AP with Nami pair. Another, so there's 2 Tristana possible players. Also holding a Nocturne. Darth Nub wants to play towards Chembaron. Likely AD with the units that he's holding with the Maddie. Okay, so nobody really contesting Quick Striker or Rebel. I think we stick to the game plan. Okay, these are decent for a Kali, so yeah. Okay, he did not buy the... I would have thought he'd buy the Maddie Step Singe, but he wanted to buy the powder. He didn't even get it off in time. So again, that's why like Demacian Raptor was suggesting you frontline the Vex so you could get the orbs quicker, which might have allowed him to buy the powder in time. One for by Aurelia pair, Aurelia and Vex pairs, which leaves 1 gold over. Just commit like Aurelia pair Vex. Or actually commit, I think you want a signal, right? So you commit Aurelia Vex Macaulay. And then you have 1 gold left over. I don't think it really matters. Like, you're pretty hard committed towards Quick Striker right now. So, yeah, doesn't matter. Last unit. Probably like a Mumu. Connects to Nocturne. That guy already has Chembaron. Open Rod. Okay, that's good for... Alright. So that was good. Game 3 Vi encounter for dankmemes. All right, so he got the Swain out of the box. Buy the Darius, commit Darius and Swain. Got one more gold left. Definitely want to buy the Trundle pair. If we are following what his pattern was before, it would be sell a Mumu or Trundle pair, since valuing 3-cost tank until find 2-star 1-cost tank. Plus Scar like has a 3-unit stun, which is quite good in the early game. See what we get here. Open tier. I don't think that really changes the analysis. Okay, sold the Scar. I'm trying to find some degree of consistency in how I guess he thinks that Blitz and Loris is stronger as a tank. Greater than Scar as tank. Or already have what is it, Swain as tank? So don't want to hold 3 costs. All right, so then you can buy shop. Okay, 1-4. We can go for a 4 Conqueror opener, so I would definitely buy Rel. We got Maddie pair, which I would probably. So first I would commit Maddie probably, or I'd probably commit Rel. Buy Rel, commit Rel, and then if no gold drop, sell Aurelia, buy Maddie, Aurelia or Momo, but probably Aurelia. Yeah, because we already have the Darius Watcher here. He does not like this. All right, let's see what component we get dropped. Bow. Okay, I think it's Sell Aurelia by Maddie. What? Huh. I guess he's probably thinking his components aren't AD. And maybe he scouted and wants to lean AP. Or he knows he wants to play around Swain. So Maddie isn't important. Okay. So don't buy pair if 80 units. If no, you're not playing 80. Like he knows he wants to play around AP and Swain. All right, Darth Nub. Okay, definitely want to buy the Singed for and commit. Buy Singed, commit the Chem Baron units, and then buy shot. This one's pretty easy. And now buy Renata, and we're playing Chem Baron. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's really anything to learn here. Okay. Okay, cool. So to summarize my kind of big takeaway learnings, most of my errors are actually from dankmemes. He really values holding 3-cost tanks, and technically Swain was also a 3-cost tank. He intentionally did not buy a pair of AD units if you know you're not playing AD, and consistently sold 2 costs in favor of 1 cost, but the 3-cost tanks he's more likely to hold. All the other kind of basic ideas and principles that I went over in my video were pretty consistent. I think having that tier list in mind, especially for 2 costs and 3 costs, like Darth Nub picking out the Akali, really making sure you hold units with same trait. Hold units based on slammable item components was a big key one. And you could see that they were all actively scouting, which could impact which direction they might sell off when there's a close decision to be made. All right, so that covers the VOD review. I hope you found this analysis useful. Going back to the meta mindset of the day with deliberate practice, I hope that you are able to incorporate some of these ideas into your life, especially if you want to get better at TFT. You can basically follow the same process that I just went over with any player in any game and in any stage of the process. So like if you feel like you're consistently weak at augment selection or anomaly selection, or whatever it is, like you can make a very deliberate practice process where you just skip to that part of the video. And Meta TFT even has like a VOD library where one of the things I did is, like, let's say you're trying to figure out how to play 7 Rebel. You can literally filter by this, click into all these games, go to like anomaly selection, predict what decision they're gonna make. Wait, that's not okay. Here, is this anomaly selection? Anyway, you go to anomaly selection, and then make the prediction, and then see whether they roll through something or not, right? And you could do that for a comp type. You could do that for a player, Dishsoap. And so there are a lot of ways that you can apply this approach to having a very deliberate practice to improving a specific area of your game where you feel like you're weak or you really want to emphasize. It reminds me of when, like, for example, LeBron James came into the league. He didn't really have a 3-point shot. He was consistently, I think, shooting under 30% when he first entered the league. And he spent like one summer in particular where he did deliberate practice a ton, and he just worked on his 3-point shot. And now it's actually serviceable, and he can actually take buzzer beater 3-point shots, and he's a threat. You can't just leave him open, right? So definitely, I hope you're able to incorporate this into your game and into your life. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.